Iron Man's a lot like Batman. No superpowers. The only thing he has to fight crime is what he was born with. Money. And a lot of it. On this episode of Your Geek Fix, we'll be unboxing this SH Figures Tony Stark, an Iron Man figure, looking at why I have the lights turned down, and what's in this box. But first, this is Your Geek Fix. So first off, I think I better address this right here. I have an arc reactor that I made myself. The purpose was just for this episode, just so I could wear it as part of the theme. But then I thought, well, if I'm going to make it, I might as well actually tell how I made it. So basically, this is just a makeup mirror that I got. Took the mirror part out, one of those rounded mirrors, and I did put in some reflective tape in the back. And now I'm threading through some LED lights that I got at Walmart. So I think you get 2 strips, and they were actually pre-wired to a trigger switch, but I took that off. We're just going to use one of these batteries. So I decided the brightness wasn't enough, and so I'm trying one more of these strips just to see if it helps out. And temporarily stick that on the top, and we'll try and wire this up real quick. That one works by itself, and this one seems to work by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and connect those. Okay, and one more. And hopefully it's bright enough at this point to light it up. Alright, now test and see if the camera can still see it. One thing that's nice about it is, as you can tell, when I move from side to side, it's pretty low profile. I mean, it's fairly flat. The problem is, here in this lit room, with all the studio lighting, it's actually kind of hard to see. So for a second here, let's turn off the lights. There you go, huh? So this shows you a little bit better what it looks like in more natural lighting. It's not too bad. It looks pretty good, but with the studio lights on, honestly, yeah, what you're seeing mostly is the shirt. So that's the downside to it. Unless you could make it somehow brighter than how bright. Actually, these aren't LED lights that I'm using inside the studio, so that's another thing. The front of it is actually just a bunch of pieces of plastic that I cut. You could just print onto it. There's a lot of different ways that you could get the silhouette going on. In the movie that I noticed, on the outer edges, what you could see through is blue, and then the center triangle is actually more of a white. So I try to do mine in the same way. And the end result isn't too bad when you look at it. I like also when you turn to the side, it kind of disappears, because of course the LEDs aren't pointing straight forward. But anyway, right now I just have it taped to me, but you could use something like Velcro or something else. It's probably going to come loose while I'm doing the review. That's okay. So anyway, with all that, let's go ahead and turn the lights back on. All right. So now with our lights up, we have the ability to review and see our first and star figure of our project, the SH Figures Tony Stark. This thing looks pretty amazing, as you can see here on the front. Tony Stark down the side. Tony's powered stage comes with him, which is the same thing as the gantry. I think right off the bat, when you're looking at the front of this, it's amazing, because the first thing your mind thinks when you're seeing the picture on the side is that that's the actual Tony Stark, like they took it from the movie, but they didn't. That is actually the figure in pose right there. And another thing is these are all the figure, actually, all the way around the package. So none of these are taken from the movie or from picture references. So that's very cool. Shows you right off the bat some of his abilities, and the fact that you can also swap out some of the parts. It comes with the parts that were necessary to be able to perform that scene near the beginning of Iron Man 3, in which he had the different suit items flying onto his body. And so we'll be able to animate something similar to that, I'm hoping. But at any rate, so there he is. Very cool. So we'll go ahead and open it. It looks like there's just tape on the sides. The easiest side might be to open it, might be this side where it has all plastic. There we go. And as I pull it out, it seems like these are always really, really well packaged. I'd also say it's in a nice order. One benefit to keeping this packaging is that there's all these small parts that you'd be switching out. It would make it a lot easier to keep them organized, even if you put it into a drawer. I think, probably like my other figure, it does. The pieces are also separate, so I can keep the gantry separate from the actual figure. So that's kind of cool. Oh, is there something else inside? There is a blue card inside. That's about it. Unless you need a blue card. There is a blue card in there for whatever you might need. Alright, so let's put together the gantry first, just because, or the powered base, or the, whatever you want to call it, the suit up base is the other name I've heard for it. I'm actually going to be opening an alternative to this next week, so be prepared. But at the same time, I will say, when you look at this, it is so well molded or painted, I can't even tell if it's paint or part of the plastic. It looks as if there are lights that go around the sides. You'd assume they could light up, and I wish it did. It doesn't, unfortunately. The bottom just looks like this. So, that's too bad. I have already heard in advance that these pieces have to be put together in a certain way, so I'm actually going to break them all apart first. Otherwise, they don't overlap correctly. So if you're finding you can't seem to get it to go together right, because they're not overlapping correctly, it's probably because you need to break apart the whole thing first. Although now I'm still having problems. In order to make it really work right. So this last piece is supposed to go on after everything else is on there. Oh, there we go. And like that. And like this. It also, the pegs fit in such a way it doesn't let you do some things out of order. Alright, so here's that last piece that both sides of it have holes. And so it just fits right on top of it. Like so. Now all I have to do is take the top of the base, or the main part of the base, and look for the holes at the bottom, line them up with the pegs, and push it on. And just like that, we've got my base. Now we have someplace to put our figures. I'll go ahead and put that over here. Let's go ahead and take a look at Tony himself. So again, as I said, there's parts, there we go. Gotta keep all these together. We have different hand gestures and parts which you can pop onto him. I think I'm going to keep the case just for keeping track of all the parts. Oh wow. You know, one thing I just noticed about this that is better than a lot of the other figures I've seen is that most of them you have to get a separate hand sculpt just to have this little flap right here be able to flip up when you move the arm. So something about this is, look at that little hand flap. that comes up just so that you can articulate the arm. Anyway, pretty fine detail for these parts. The boots also have multiple points of articulation, and they have a lot of detail as far as some of the gears and things that are underneath it. So, pretty cool. Alright, and that brings us to Tony Stark himself. He does have some tape or protection on here. Wow, that really looks like him. That is an amazing sculpt. I've heard mixed reviews about the photo printing and realism that they use, but honestly, it looks really good. I think that'll look fine on camera. Like I said, I would probably hold on to the plastic just to keep hold of your small parts, unless you have some kind of a collection underneath your displays. But he has a lot of points of articulation. So you've got, in fact, so many, so I'm not sure if I'm going to catch them all. I can see that even his shoulders move somewhat. You have some swivel right here at the elbow. You have some swivel and articulation movement here at the hand. And like I said, we can swap out those hands here in a moment. His waistline moves, so do his hips. It looks like the legs can go pretty high, and actually not bad backward either. And then as far as the foot goes, it will point the toe, and I can also roll it a little bit from side to side. As far as the head goes, looks like we have neck movement. Most of the turn, I like the turn a lot because the neck and the head turn. Yeah, it looks a lot more natural as far as that head goes. So that's very cool. This particular shirt that you see him wearing is actually a woman's shirt. And I know this because I went to try to find it and found out it's actually pretty well documented that that's what they use. But man, it looks pretty good, right? So, at any rate, it's actually a women's workout shirt. As far as being able to stand, yeah, he can stand very well because there's so many points of articulation. I think I can get him to do some pretty funky poses, in fact. Yeah, look at that. That's not too shabby. So there's that. At the same time, you remember in the scene when he's first controlling the suit, making it fly onto him, he just has one boot at a time, one hand at a time. So everything except for the main body, it looks like we've got both arms and both legs that we can pop on. Let's see if we can make him fly here real quick. Put one on here. There we go. Seems like he has to really step into it. There we go. Pop that on. So now I can take this stand and get something that's more like that. So he's blowing himself backward. So that's pretty cool. Now we'll keep our gauntlet out for a second and let's try out this figure. I do not know who made this figure. I got this on eBay because we kind of spent all of our money on the SH figure, so couldn't go for the SH Mark 42. Also, I heard some problems with the SH Mark 42, the shoulder pads popping off too much, and again, I knew I'd have some problems with that. But kind of cool packaging, not too bad. It says Stark on one side, shows the Stark Industries symbol, Marvel.com, and things on the back. Billionaire, genius, inventor, philanthropist, avenger. Actually, It also comes with this arc reactor art that has gears and things on the sides. It's kind of cool. So still can't compare to the one I made today, right? Now, looking at the actual figure, inside of its packaging, it looks like you get 6 extra hands and multiple pegs. So you don't have to maintain one set of pegs for all of your different accessories. I like that factor because most and I guess my biggest complaint with a lot of figures, even the larger 12-inch figures, is that they don't come with pegs, and so you lose the peg that holds, you know, the hand or whatever together, and it's just gone. You're done. On these hands, on the bottom of them, oh, there we go. You can see the repulsor on the bottom. The fingers also, you can see that they are intricately painted. I mean, it really almost looks like I could open and close them, but they are not individually articulated. And then there's 2 hands that are on it, and it looks like, as far as those hands go, they're also open. And yeah, that's the difference on those two. So one set you can go like this, one set that has to be more flat. That was the point I was making with the SH figures. Remember, on the SH figure, that part can actually hinge, so you don't need 2 hands. But this one, you would, because you're not going to be able to bend back the hand adequately. His shoulder moves up, but it does not come off. I like that. So that's one of the things I'd heard about the SH figure. And but I do need to push it back down when modeling him. So he does have a pretty good range of motion, movement. Looks like he even has some spots here for connecting some additional parts, which it didn't come with. So that's interesting. His head has a pretty good movement, but it also, unlike the SH figure, the neck does not move, only the head does. So it looks a little less natural. But the waist and the hips, oh no, just the waist moves. The hips, you just got the legs. It's all straight mold through here. The legs do bend. The toes do point a little. But they have a hard time going backward. So, let's see here. So again, as far as posing him, it looks like I have some ability to do so. And so there you go. So that's the, I'll stand him on here too. You remember our last character, I could stand him independently without any other supports. But this guy doesn't do bad, actually, it's looking like. See, there we go. There you go, standing by himself. All right, so that brings me to our Comicave Manny Toys box that I've got right here, which looks a bit like a real furniture box. So what is in it? Well, I actually made my own couch at one point. This looks a bit like Tony Stark's couch. So by SH Toys, there is a couch by SH Toys that shaped more of that curve like the real couch. The problem with that one is it's hard molded, and so it even comes with pillows that are also plastic, and I was really preferring something that's going to show that it's more of a cushion, so when something sits on it you can see the impression, and that is where this comes in really well. It is a nice couch. It looks like, and it's put together like a nice couch should look. Even has these little tiny seams going around it, so really quite good. Came with these 2 pillows, which I'll throw on there. But then I noticed I had that there were these 1/12 scale pillows that I stole from our dollhouse. So there you go. Looks pretty good. let's try it out with the figures next. I'll put them as much as I can. Now this is something too about the SH figures. I can put them into this pose, which is pretty good, where I actually can bend his leg that way. I can even put his elbow a little bit behind him. Looks more natural. Right? And then bring this guy over. He's a little bit more rigid, but can do that. This is kind of like the scene. This is kind of like the mechanic scenes. But at any rate, wrong clothes, but still similar idea. Looks very good. I like it. That is the Comicave Toy Studios couch for Iron Man. Tony Stark couch. There you go. So there it is. I'm hoping that you're as excited as we are about having some of these figures and set options for our upcoming Iron Man project. I'm going to be unboxing and kind of designing a cheaper alternative of a dummy figure that is 1/12 scale. So stay tuned for that. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, make comments below, and don't forget about our giveaways, which also require that you like, subscribe, and comment below. We'll see you next time. This is your Geek Fix.